welcome everyone. I'm excited for today's topic, which is sustaining lean, and we're going to get some peer insights from Del, Matt, Trey, Theresa, and Marco. We are going to kick this off with Del Calkins. He is the Global Continuous Improvement Manager at iCore Systems. He was introduced to continuous improvement in the 80s and was hooked when the company he worked for made a poster of the improvement that he suggested. He's been chasing the CI recognition buzz ever since. Fun fact about Del is that he has a trademark blend of barbecue sauce. It's called OMG Barbecue, and his favorite flavor is habanero honey mustard, but he has a couple of other flavors as well. So I'm going to turn this over to Del to share his insights on sustaining lean.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts. Today, we want to talk about sustaining lean, and that's kind of been the struggle all along. I've done continuous improvement and managed some different companies, and one of the things that always seems to happen is during a slowdown or during a manager change or something causes a rest and a break in the action, and people tend to not pay as much attention to what needs to happen, and then you're starting all over in your CI program again. And so for me, sustaining has been a puzzle all along. Occasionally you'll step into an area where you're starting all over anyway because the company needs you to start all over. But one of the things that cause that is the chaos caused by a new manager that comes in or a new CI person that comes in and they want to do something their own way. If you've already got a strong system in place, then somebody new coming in shouldn't cause any hiccups. It's like they should be the ones to assimilate, Borg-like assimilation. They should be jumping into what you already have rolling instead of trying to change everything. So that happens once in a while. But as far as sustaining tools, I don't believe that there is any one tool out there that standalone would cause enough action to sustain a program. I think that employees' engagement at the frontline levels is where you're going to get your biggest bang for the buck. And that, again, is even difficult to do. Difficult to do because if it was easy, then like they say, everybody would be doing it, right? But what is engagement? Engagement is not doing the lean stuff just because the manager or the supervisor tells us to. That's just mere compliance. And we can get compliance easily enough. But what we want is the employees to feel engaged. And so that presents another problem. That's one of the hardest things I've experienced is how do we measure that? You look at attendance, you look at morale, you try to think up some ways to measure engagement. It's difficult. But the bottom line is that if the employees feel supported and listened to, then they will want to engage with the program. If they understand that your program is going to help them do their job better and they're going to have it easier and they're going to make a bigger impact on the company, if they understand that clearly enough and you make it easy enough for them to do, there really isn't too many people that wouldn't want to jump in and follow that path. So I think the sustainment lies in the responsibility of the managers and the supervisors. They have to go down to the front lines or to the people and explain what's happening with them. I think that the interactions between the supervisors and the managers and the employees have to be really upbeat and they have to be positive at all times. The people on the floor will follow and mirror the behavior of the leadership. So as a leader in a company, and you're trying to get everybody else to practice lean, practice a continuous improvement or work on some things, then you should lead by example 100% of the time. If you go down and you're in a bad mood and you don't want to do something today, well, deal with that in your office with the door closed, but out in the factory or out in the place of business, you need to keep a happy face on and make sure that you're positive with all of the employees so that they understand exactly what's happening. What's happening? I'm sorry. What's happening? It's like the trickle down effect. If your managers and supervisors are always angry and frustrated and hard and find it hard to manage the CI program anyway, all that's going to trickle down to the floor. That's going to trickle down to the front line, and they're going to behave the same way. But it also works the other way. If the managers and the supervisors and the leadership is all upbeat all the time for your employees, then they'll also trickle down and mirror that behavior. And so it's difficult, but for me, that's kind of what I like to focus on is how do we do the conversations with the people, especially when you're just starting out? Because one of the things I try to initiate is I don't try to tell people, and I let them know I'm not there to tell them how to do their job because they know how to do that perfectly well anyway. I make sure they understand I'm there to teach them some tricks so that they can make some tools and tricks so they can make their job easier. Couple of the things that I'm really, oh, one more minute. Okay, I'll try to hurry through this. At the floor level, there's a book out there called 4 Disciplines of Execution. Probably read it. It's just a few years old, but it's got a couple of really good points about engagement, and that's scoreboards at the frontline level where the employees can see that they're actually winning. I think that's really important. If you get some KPIs out there that they can control, that's really important. And I think that's about the book 4DX. That's like one of my favorites, and it's got some really interesting facts in it. So if you get an opportunity, read that, keep engagement levels high on the leadership side, and then no matter what tools that you put in place that you want to use at your location, the employees will feel supported, listened to, and appreciated, and they will engage. Okay.
Thank you very much, Del.
Thank you.
Anybody curious
by
about
quick.
anything?
By quick.
Any quick questions for him before we move along?
Can you mention the name of that book again?
Yes, it's 4 Disciplines
Thanks.
of Execution. It's called, oh, Jennifer put a list up. Very good. 4DX. Very interesting book. I have it on Audible, so I listen to it.
We also did a webinar, ADEC did a webinar on 4DX, so I can leave a link when I do the follow-up to that webinar as well for how they're using it. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Matt Horvat, who is a lean coach and practitioner at the Standard Insurance Company. He has held various lean roles since 2006 and has worked in healthcare quite extensively before moving into the Standard Insurance. He's also the founder of Lean Portland, which is a community of folks. I'm also a member and enjoy going to their virtual happy hours every month, but they do outreach to nonprofits to help introduce them to Lean and do various improvement events there to help them become more efficient. A fun fact about Matt is we're actually going to call this a not so fun fact. He is currently immersed in learning to parent a tween. So we're just going to leave it at that. Maybe he has another fun fact he wants to throw in for us as well. But that's where we left it. So I can imagine what his frame of mind was when he answered my question earlier. So, all right, Matt, I am going to hand it over to you.
Hey, Jennifer. Yeah, work is fun. Does that count? So I'm glad to come after you, Del. I really appreciated what you said about you wanting employees to be engaged. That's really what's motivating us here at the Standard right now. And so we're taking lean and kind of breaking it up into a run the business and improve the business framework. And so today I want to talk about sustaining the part about improving the business. Has a lot to do with problem solving. So I've got two key points that I've really, I think, made a difference for us in the last few years. And that is to make it visual and to get people talking. Now, a lot of the stuff that I hope to hear about today is around like executive sponsorship and the benefits of doing all this. And without some of those things, we would never made it this far. But making it visual and getting people talking in community is really what's allowed us to like advance everyone together. So I'll tell you a little bit about how we do those two things. Making it visual when it comes to problem solving for us means the same kind of like small sheets of paper that are so familiar to probably all of us around quick and easy Kaizen or an A6 or some little framework around an idea card that is appropriate for frontline staff. Anyone can work on these. And we use the Microsoft application planner to handle that. Our claims department is a 100% virtual environment. So we've had to transition off the whiteboards and off the pieces of paper to something electronic. And the tool is great. If you haven't used it, I encourage you to check it out. It's just a basic Kanban though, and there's others available for free like Trello. Regardless, those tools allow us to use labels and to move these little tokens through buckets, just like you can on a whiteboard. And that's given us an opportunity to standardize to some extent between teams and how these meetings can run. And so we've mapped these labels to different types of conversations. So as people bring in new ideas, they're in a new ideas bucket. We can label them with priority after having the prioritization conversations. A lot we can do with just the basic technologies. And that's really helped make the structure be something that people can expect and we can utilize, and we can coach people to describe the background of their problem and what they want to do about it and how it might benefit their organization. We can set up tiers so that representatives from teams can go to team of teams kind of meetings and to get their problems prioritized that might have a broader impact. So that's kind of the technical side. It's the getting people talking that makes all this fun, and it keeps people developing and advancing. Even after some training, which, you know, we don't have a lot of attention for in-depth training, we've got to continually be feeding people new skills and new capabilities. So we've been able to try to just create different communities within the organization. And that's really come down to two groups with kind of a tiger team. We've got a manager group that meets every other week for half an hour as a voluntary basis. And we just kind of spoon feed them new content. We ask them questions. We want to hear from them about what their concerns are and where they think they're getting the most value and promote those ideas. Like one example, somebody talked about the benefits they were getting from doing better go-and-sees, like fact-finding missions to go help investigate problems. And so we brought that conversation to the other kind of community group, which is the group of individual contributors. So we've asked like one representative from every team to come and check in with us like for 45 minutes in a group setting once a month. And we give them just like one little token of information, bring it back to their team to do a teach back. And in that way, over the period of 1 or 2 years, we're building this momentum up. We're keeping people talking. It's relevant because the content comes from them. And then again, we've got this like smaller set of individual contributors, the people that are the most ambitious about problem solving, that are really helping lead the charge. We prime them in advance with what the conversation is going to be and really help them demonstrate their leadership in like new and kind of fun ways. We're finding lots of people are very interested in this. It just takes the right kind of like visual system to make sure that we can close the loops and keep people moving forward on their real problems. And then, you know, putting the tools in the hands of the people, because, you know, everybody likes to change and make their own environment better. So we're just trying to tap into that. So that's really it. Keeping it visual and trying to make it fun by being in conversation. Those are what's keeping us alive these last couple of years with our programs.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. How widespread is that? are those meetings? Where are they happening?
Well, our organization up to the executive level is about 400 individual contributors. And we've got like 2/3 active participation in that org. The standard insurance company has got like 5,000 employees. So I don't have the perspective much broader than my claims org, but 2/3 is it's a big deal. And like Del, you said, new leaders come in and adopt the practices. We're at that point with this org.
It's great to hear. Thank you, Matt. Any immediate questions from the group? Del.
Hi, Matt. We also use the Teams and just getting into the planner a little bit. And in the future, if you want to give a demonstration of how well that goes for you with your continuous improvement actions, and please invite me.
Happy to. Thanks, Del.
Great. All right, next up is Trey Gibbs. He is the Director of Manufacturing at Toso Quartz. He has worked for over 20 years in manufacturing, ranging from retail and he has over 20 years of experience ranging from retail and hospitality, then into CNC assembly and machining, electronics, and military aerospace. He's held roles from warehouse supervisor to CI manager and has been the director of manufacturing in his past couple companies. Fun fact about him is that he owns and operates a small farm, and he raises dairy goats, poultry, and perennial products. He emphasizes permaculture principles and lean methodologies. So he has some lean or LinkedIn posts that have always been fascinating about applying lean to his farm. So go out and search those up. So, all right, Trey, take it away.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's first and foremost, I'm excited to be back with NWHPEC. Missed you guys so much. And joining you guys now in my new role as Director of Manufacturing at Toso. I'm going to go ahead and share. I've got a presentation for you here. All right. A little bit of a repeat. I work at Toso Quartz Incorporated in Portland. My name is Trey Gibbs. I'm the Director of Manufacturing. Whoa, hold on. Apologies for the technical difficulties here. Just a minute, I went way too fast. There we go. Thank you for bearing with me on that. All right. So first off, I want to talk about a little bit of history, previous places I've worked. We really kind of got the lean bug, and this is really my role as a process engineering technician. Company I worked at, we got the lean bug. We were excited. We knew all the tools. We had our tool belts, and we all went out there and just started moving pieces around all over the place towards a goal of making things better. What we found, or at least what I personally experienced as a process engineer working with manufacturing engineers, we would constantly be at odds. And they're trying to move, their portion this way, I'm trying to move my portion this way, and we get frustrated, disengaged. We feel like we're making progress. Somebody says we're not making progress. All in all, what we had come to realize in that sense was that we lacked an overarching strategy. So in my experience, the biggest opportunities I think we have as leaders in organizations is to focus on developing a strategy and how we are going to deploy that strategy. Kind of to the point a little bit, Del had mentioned new managers come in and cause shifts. Typically, what I've experienced is when those shifts do take place, it's because the organization lacks an overarching strategy and deployment process. And that's, as I come to learn in my career, that is everywhere. That's one of the big opportunities I think we have as organizations, is really strengthen up how we develop our strategy and how we deploy it, and ensure that everyone understands which direction the ship is going and who is playing what role. in that journey. So as I added here, the absence of it leads to inefficiency, contributes to unseen waste. We don't see the amount of waste of everybody moving cogs in different directions. And it ultimately results in disengagement. We're not making any progress. Why are we doing this anyway? So we get into drama triangle conversations out on the floor and gossip and all of that. Other key aspects I want to kind of highlight for sustaining lean, and I think maybe we talk about this, Matt and Dell did a little bit. I call it a daily management system. So this is actually based off of, I believe it's Creating a Lean Culture book, kind of based in the 80s, I think is when it came out. So comprehensive system featuring visual controls, daily accountability, leadership, standard work, and it extends throughout the organization. Big emphasis on that is that if you do work, for example, I work in a manufacturing facility, every single role in this organization has an impact on manufacturing. Otherwise, the position shouldn't necessarily exist, right? We're all tied, we're all linked, we're all connected, we all have systems. So everyone needs to be looking at what part of their system do they need to improve that aligns with that overall strategy that we're shooting for. Other big emphasis I want to kind of highlight for sustaining lean is you have to have two types of process improvement. So one would be like process for evolutionary improvement. We classically would call those like Kaizen events, quality circles, DMAIC, suggestion systems, etc. Those things about making a current system just better. And the other one would be process for revolutionary change. I emphasize the improvement kata and the coaching kata in this, where we're really trying to break down paradigms and foundational beliefs of what we can actually do and exploring new territory of what is possible. I also highlighted other scientific driven models of practice. So for sustaining lean, just some pointers, always start with strategy, development and deployment. Starting with a strategy could begin with implementing effective measures for delivery and quality across all organizational levels. Keeping in mind that those of us who are in leadership roles, we are also still learning, and it's okay to go small so you can, go big. Create systems that promote behaviors centered on leading with humility and respecting every individual. Additionally, looking at starting with the emotional safety. What I have found in my experience, what causes backsliding is when individuals do not feel safe or the freedom to fail. We kind of get that way. I think there's all kinds of literature out there we talk about as we become adults. We become afraid to fail. And we have to kind of reteach that in our team members that it's okay to fail. And when you're in a leadership role or a mentor role or a coach role, you have to reestablish that safety net that it's okay. It's okay if we try this and it's abysmal failure. That gives people the freedom to want to step into new spaces and to know that when you come out with a new metric that you're not measuring them, you're measuring process. So that's a big one I think needs to be in place. Matt and Dell talked about visual controls at the process. Big thing, daily accountability for actions and escalations. It's really nice that we put metrics out there, but if it's not driving action and we don't hold team members accountable to execution and resolving those problems, it'll quickly lose its momentum and become another monument on the wall or on the floor. Lack of follow through, results in disengagement and backsliding. And then the big one is consistency of leadership. So consistent and predictable leadership fosters trust and clear expectations. I take pride in the fact that when I walk out on the floor, everybody knows what questions I'm going to ask about the process. They know I'm not coming out, with a gotcha. It's how's your process performing? Anything bugging you today? How can I help you? And that's essentially all I got.
Thank you, Trey. Any immediate questions? Good, I see people using the reaction keys. We didn't go over that. You're finding them on your own, which is awesome. Serena.
Sorry, I don't have anything. I pushed the wrong one.
Oh, that's okay. Those were hands as well. Good. All right. That's your clapping. Perfect. All right, so let's move along to Theresa Mills. She is currently the General Manager of the North American Foundry Operations at Weir ESCO. She has worked at Weir ESCO for 24 years now and also had a 3.5-year stint at Benchmade as their Director of Supply Chain in the midst of that. She has been heavily involved in continuous improvement throughout her career, and she is the esteemed president of NWHPEC at the time. At this moment. At her fun fact is that she is trying to visit all of the national parks. So she's never lacking for a place to go. All right, Theresa, I'll hand it over to you.
Hey, I want to thank everyone for coming on and participating in this NWHPEC event. Let's see if I can get my screen clear here. Am I sharing the right screen, Jennifer?
Yes, you are.
All right. I want to start with just a little bit about Weir ESCO because it sets the stage, I think, for what a lot of us have been working on. And so Weir ESCO is a group of mining engineering businesses, and it says founded 150 years ago, but it's actually 153. So the Weir Group was started in 1871. ESCO was founded in Portland in 1913. So kind of the takeaway there is no business can exist for 153 years or 111 years respectively, unless they're willing to see things differently, unless they're willing to make that change. And I think that's something that's I'm particularly proud of when I think of our business is how long we've stood the test of time and how willing we are to reinvent ourselves when we need to. ESCO is the #1 business in GET, which is ground engaging tools. We serve mining, infrastructure, and aggregate, and then the industrial market. We have 11,000 employees across Weir, 2,500 in ESCO, 50 countries, and 50 operating sites. Why I wanted to talk about that is each one of these operates somewhat independently, so we also have the struggle of trying to have a standard system across many different elements of our business. I'm sure that sounds familiar to a lot of folks. So here's our global footprint. We're just spread out, lots of different countries, lots of different things happening. Let's get to the meat and potatoes here. Struggling with my system a little bit. So this is through my lens. You know, the keys to sustainment come in 3 big buckets. The first is leadership commitment. The second is working on the right things. And then the last bucket is building it into the sustainment strategy. And you're going to start to hear some redundancies from what the other speakers have talked about. And that's good. That's okay. So this first one is leadership commitment. And I use the word unwavering, and that's my expectation, that we have an unwavering commitment to stay the course and set the example. And I was explaining to Jennifer a few weeks ago that for me, that's a conversation. If you're a direct report of mine, we sit down and we have this conversation right out of the gate that it's my expectation that the ESCO business system isn't optional. And the reason we have that conversation is we're never going to sync up as an employer or employee if we don't believe in the same things. We'll constantly be at odds. So syncing up and making sure that the ESCO business system is how you're going to proceed and how you're going to coach your people to proceed and how you're going to challenge and do better is really important. And sometimes people don't agree, and then that's okay as well. And we agree that it's not going to work for us, and we move on. We help them move on, most oftenly outside the business. Now, not everyone has both unwavering commitment and the right training and tools to do the work. So it's not good enough to just say, hey, you're a leader and you're going to lead through this. So we also do everything we can to provide the tools and the training that's required for people to be successful managing and leading in the ESCO business system. So here's the second big bucket, and that's working on the right things. So I do think that we are really good at deployment of our strategy. It starts annually at group. We deploy out our 5-year strategy and we roll in a new year. And we make tweaks when necessary, but we're very good at staying the course. That strategy then rolls down into the divisions. ESCO must meet group strategy, and with that comes a more granular look that then rolls out to the business, including operations. Each of our sites has a strategic house, and they set their commitments to that strategy annually. Sorry. Going to connect to the strategy, we have to figure out how we're going to get there. And that means we're not going to look lean, but we're going to be lean. And so we have a continuous improvement roadmap. That roadmap is set out month by month of what are the key elements that we're going to be working on that delivers to the strategy. It must be quantified. We do our very best to make everything quantitative, not qualitative. An example of when that's difficult is employee engagement or peak-on, and we'll still do our best to make that something that we can measure. The last piece here is to build that work into our sustainment strategy. And we just talked about David Mann's book, Creating the Lean Culture. ESCO partnered with David Mann and created the ESCO business system. It's on the wall behind me. We call it ESCO Process Management. It's a very simple system, but it has to be followed and it has to be managed. And it's how we create opportunity and how we sustain. So everything must be defined. And once it's defined, we document it and then we train to that standard. And we hold that standard to be true. If a change is made in the process, we go back, we redefine, we reset that standard, and we retrain to it. Once we have the standard, we can make expected versus actual visual. So we'll take and actually create as many visuals on the floor as we need to, or in our office processes as well. Once we have the standard and its visual, then we can build that into the leader's standard work. And this isn't just flow walks. This is everyone's standard work that's cascading up and down to make sure that things that are critical for running the business are checked on with frequency, process, and results. The last piece is accountability. And I took the daily out because I think that confuses it a little bit. But our accountabilities show up in our tier meetings, tier 1 through tier 5. So tier 1, every morning on the shop floor, checking in on safety, providing results, making sure people understand where we're going that day. The next tier, things are cascading up. We go all the way to tier 5. We have weekly A3 reviews. We use the form called a 4-blocker, where it's just a status report on the review. If we have misses, we use corrective action reports, and those are done weekly and monthly. We have balanced scorecard reviews with the entire team, looking at the output metrics that tie to our strategic plans. And if they're not right, we'll have corrective action reports as well. And then we have quarterly check-ins with each of the sites where we're looking at the strategy, the deployment, the closure of gaps, and how we're doing on our process management audits. So it's this entire system, I think that's the most important for sustainment. Sustainment doesn't happen by accident. It has to happen on purpose. So with that, I'll open it to questions.
Thank you for your perspective. And I love seeing that you've got that on the wall. I'm assuming that is intentional, Theresa.
It is intentional.
Anything for Theresa? All right.
I enjoyed the
move.
presentation.
Oh.
Sorry, I just want to jump in, and I like the way that one ended. It's intentional. So I'm going to steal that.
And that's what this is about, stealing great ideas, right? So, and words. All right. And for our final presentation of the morning, we have Marco Montalvo. He is the Director of Global Lean Transformation at Coherent. He has 25 years of lean manufacturing experience, including 15 years at Toyota Motor Manufacturing. So he has really been immersed in Toyota's lean culture and their production system. He has held roles in supply chain, project management, supplier development, and quality, where he is always applying continuous improvement principles. Fun fact about him is that he loves to spend time with his family, golfing, traveling, and wine tasting with his friends. Marco, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be able to be here today and share with the team what I've learned throughout my career and what I think it takes to sustain a lean culture. It's a very challenging thing to do. I think if everybody had that answer, we'd be millionaires by now. But I think it goes by having to learn what your culture is at your company and be able to develop a strategy around that with the tools and principles to help you execute and be able to build a culture and then on top of that, sustain it. I wish I had, like I said, a magical formula, but I don't. The reality is that I think there is not one size that fits all. But what I can do today is share with you what I learned at Toyota and how we are implementing some of these principles as part of our lean transformation at Coherent Corp. We just began our transformation or in fiscal year 23, which was beginning of last year. And what I'd like to do is just go ahead and start sharing with you some of the principles and some of the tools that we're currently using as part of our transformation. Okay, so these are basically to summarize some of our key principles on how we feel we need to sustain our lean culture. We're currently building this, and this is the principles that we're practicing right now. We have executive sponsorship and support is required. That was definitely needed, and we presented our strategic plan and our guiding principles to our CEO and other key leadership teams right off the start. We develop our employees. We're creating a culture of learning. It's very important that we have that fundamentals and everybody understands what lean is from the basics and continue our development of training employees on a yearly basis. We need to make sure that our leaders need to lead by example and replacing what we say old habits with lean habits is another important factor of having our leadership team on the shop floor lead the people by example, coach and mentor them, and basically just be the driving force that is the model for what lean habits should look like. Drive standardization throughout the enterprise. Before we used to just practice lean in manufacturing. Now we have standardization with our business operations, our corporate functions. The entire program is set to be at an enterprise level, so everybody's working on the same business process for lean, applying it the same way, and reporting as well. We feel that we need to make lean a way of life. We need to move away from just projects and tracking the continuous one-off type of projects, because as you know, usually you end up with backsliding when that happens. We need to engage and empower employees, build a culture of daily problem solving where everybody's on the shop floor or in the office administrative, working on problem solving circles and getting that interaction and the empowerment to do so. Visualize your lean cultural transformation. We definitely believe in one of our values is to showcase how our culture is transforming through lean dashboards, and I have a couple of them I'd like to share with you as well. Employee recognition. We need to celebrate the wins, not only necessarily some of our downfalls and challenges and constraints, but also every time we have a win, let's celebrate that and give the employees all the recognition for everything that we're doing out throughout the enterprise. And then, of course, lastly, I think I would just say is visualize and highlight the results, share best practices. And as we share best practices, we have different methods on doing that. We want to make sure that we're pushing for adoption across all the sites, ensuring that the culture and the development continues throughout our journey here. Just to really highlight really quickly, this is our overall model that we deployed last year, our strategic plan.
Your slides aren't sharing right now.
I'm sorry.
Which worked well for your talking, but if you're showing a picture, we'll all have a different picture in our mind.
Is it sharing now?
Yes, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. I think you saw this slide, right? This was what I was talking points. I thought I was sharing it in the beginning. I guess I wasn't. And then this is basically just to summarize what I was saying about our overall strategic plan, which we deployed in last year. It's made out of 6 components: our strategic planning, our lean enterprise, and our dashboard to metrics, employee development, employee engagement, and cultural development. We came up with our own brand of the coherent lean system. And really what we're trying to do is develop a culture that we're enabling everyone to think lean every day and everywhere. That is really what we're pushing for. It's just that mindset, that lifestyle really of believing in lean to drive our overall metrics in our company. And then as to talk about how we're going to measure our transformation and our cultural development, we have metrics and dashboards that we developed in the 4 categories of employee development, employee engagement, cultural development, and lean enterprise. And a total of 8 metrics or 8 KPIs that we're visualizing through a Power BI dashboard. But basically, these are the 6 or the 8 metrics in the 4 categories that will be, we push out the data monthly. We're visualizing that throughout the entire enterprise to help promote and sustain our lean culture. And just to give you an example, a few examples of what this looks like. Here's an example of what we deployed last year. Actually started in November, October, throughout the entire enterprise. There's over 25,000 employees at our company, spread over 4 regions, with over 60 plus factories that we have to deploy this new transformation and new culture. So we have a very challenging, complex to do that. But so what we decided to do was start with the basics and deploy lean training to all 25,000 employees. And so far we're about, I think 10% in progress, and we have about 34 or 37% already completed. So we're making that transformation. We're starting to get everybody trained with the basics of lean. And then we're able to track the progress by sites, status, and here you can see by breakdown by region or by sites. The other dashboard we have is also as continuous improvement training. We have other training that we do with yellow, green, black belt certifications that we have a partnership through with the Arizona State University. They do a lot of the training for us online. We also are measuring and we're starting to do training for what we call the Lean Velocity Kaizen Facilitator training. This is basically certifying some key people that we have identified throughout the organization that will be mentors in training on a lean model that we have for running Kaizens. And we have a very specific process that we have identified and modeled to do so. And so far we have 50 people in the program, 9 have been fully certified. We're also measuring continuous improvement suggestions. And we're doing this by sites. We're tracking by the lean waste overall, the categorizations, the type of waste, whether it impacted process or quality or ESG as an example. We are able to track by the performance by months, and of course track potential savings as well. And for employee engagement dashboards, we have an annual event called the Global Virtual Kaizen Day. Jennifer was part of this last year. She helped us as a guest speaker, but we're doing this to promote all the Kaizens that we work on every year to provide employee recognition and to just share the best practices and broadcast this throughout the entire enterprise for 3 days. So everybody becomes very aware and adopts some of the best practices throughout the organization. Last year, we had over 2,400 people that participated in attendance as well. Great success in doing that. Oops, I think I hit the wrong button. For another one for cultural development, we kicked off our lean assessments last year with over, I think, 11 assessments criteria. We're measuring each site performances as far as the scores. We have an overall enterprise score that we have. And every year, we're basically working with each site on continuous improvement plans to make sure that they continue to keep developing, and we're just measuring year-over-year performance as our cultural sustainment and overall culture keeps developing. And then I think finally the last one we just implemented here last month was Kaizen events. We're starting to do big system level Kaizens, and we're starting to measure the performance of the outputs of that. What's the value creation that comes out of that? And we have some key metrics that we're publishing, and you can see the significant amount of overall percentages from waste elimination of travel time, labor reduction, lead times, non-value added steps, all the 8 deadly waste we're actually tracking and reporting that, and we can actually filter by site, by project, by the impact as well. So again, these are just some really high level KPIs I wanted to share with you. Some of our cultural transformation. We just started a 1.5 years ago. It's a long journey for us, but I think the culture is starting to really take place. You know, we have another session and we discuss this a year from now. You know, we could talk about it and see how successful some of these principles have been for us. It's a long journey, but so far we've seen great progress, and it's very exciting times for us at Coherent.
Thank you very much, Marco. You've had a lot going on this year. Thank you so much for sharing that.